Shalom, I am Babsi, and I will be reading from the book of Leviticus, chapter 22 and chapter 23 from the Tree of Life Bible. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Tell Aaron and his sons to separate themselves from the holy things of Bnei Israel, which they consecrate to me, so that they would not profane my holy name. I am Adonai. Tell them, if anyone of all your offspring throughout your generations approaches the holy things which Bnei Israel consecrate to Adonai, while in a state of uncleanness, that soul will be cut off from before me. I am Adonai. None of the offspring of Aaron who has tzarat or has a discharge should eat of the holy things until he is clean. Whoever touches anything that is unclean by the dead, or a man whose seed discharges from him, or who touches any creeping thing that may make him unclean, or a person who is unclean, whatever his uncleanness, the person who touches any such thing will be unclean until the evening, and is not to eat of the holy things, unless he has bathed his body in water. When the sun sets, he will become clean, and afterward he may eat of the holy things, because it is his food. A carcass, or what is torn by beast, he is not to eat, becoming unclean by it. I am Adonai. Therefore, Kohanim shall keep my charge, so that they do not become guilty of sin and die, should they profane it. I am Adonai, who sanctifies them. No layman is to eat from the holy offering. A foreigner living with the Kohanim or a hired servant is not to eat from the holy offering. But if a Kohen buys a slave purchased by his money, that one may eat from it. Also those born in his house may eat his food. If a Kohen's daughter is married to a layman, she is not to eat from the gifts of the holy offerings. But if a Kohen's daughter is a widow, or divorced and has no child, and has returned to her father's house, as in her youth, she may eat from her father's food, but no layman may eat any of it. If anyone eats something holy unwittingly, then he is to add a fifth to it, and give the holy offering to the Kohen. They are not to profane the holy offerings of Bnei Israel, which they lift up to Adonai, so causing them to bear the iniquity that brings guilt when they eat the holy offerings. For I am Adonai, who sanctifies them. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and to his sons and to all Bnei Israel, and say to them, whoever is from the house of Israel, or one of the outsiders in Israel, who brings his offering, whether it be any of their vows or any of their freewill offerings, that they present to Adonai for a burnt offering, for you to be accepted, you are to offer a male without blemish from the bulls, the sheep, or the goats. But whatever has a blemish, you are not to present, for it will not be acceptable on your behalf. Whoever brings a sacrifice of fellowship offerings to Adonai to fulfill a vow, or for a freewill offering, either from the herd or the flock, it must be unblemished to be accepted. There must be no defect on it. The blind, injured, maimed, having an abnormal growth or festering, or a running sore, are not to be offered to Adonai, or given as an offering by fire on the altar to Adonai. For a freewill offering, you may present a bull or a lamb that has any deformity or lacking in its parts, but for a vow it will not be accepted. Whatever has its testicles bruised, crushed, broken, or cut, you are not to offer to Adonai, nor are you to do so in your own land. Moreover, you are not to offer the food of your God from the hand of an outsider, from any of these animals, for their corruption is within them. They have a defect. They will not be accepted on your behalf. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, when a bull, a sheep, or a goat is born, then it is to remain 7 days with its mother, and from the 8th day onward it will be accepted as the gift of an offering made by fire to Adonai. If it is a cow or you are not to slaughter it along with its young, both in one day. When you offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving to Adonai, you are to present it so that you may be accepted. It is to be eaten on the same day. You are to leave none of it until the morning. I am Adonai. So you are to keep my mitzvot and do them. I am Adonai. You must not profane my holy name, for I will be made holy among Bnei Israel. I am Adonai who makes you holy, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, to be your God. I am Adonai. Then Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Bnei Israel and tell them, these are the appointed Moadim of Adonai, which you are to proclaim to be holy convocations, my Moadim. Work may be done for 6 days, but the 7th day is the Shabbat of solemn rest, a holy convocation. You are to do no work. It is a Shabbat to Adonai in all your dwellings. These are the appointed feast of Adonai, holy convocations, which you are to proclaim in their appointed season. During the first month, on the 14th day of the month in the evening, is Adonai's Passover. On the 15th day of the same month is the feast of Matzot to Adonai. For 7 days you are to eat matzah. On the first day you are to have a holy convocation, and you should do no regular work. Instead, you are to present an offering made by fire to Adonai for 7 days. On the 7th day is a holy convocation, when you are to do no regular work. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Bnei Israel and tell them, when you have come into the land which I give to you, and reap its harvest, then you are to bring the omer of the first fruits of your harvest to the Cohen. He is to wave the omer before Adonai, to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Shabbat, the Cohen is to wave it. On the day when you wave the omer, you are to offer a male lamb without blemish, 1 year old, as a burnt offering to Adonai. The grain offering with it should be 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, an offering made by fire to Adonai for a soothing aroma. Its drink offering with it should be 1/4 of a gallon of wine. You are not to eat bread, roasted grain, or fresh grain until the same day, until you have brought the offering of your God. It is a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Then you are to count from the morrow of after the Shabbat, from the day that you brought the omer of the wave offering, 7 complete Shabbatot, until the morrow after the 7th Shabbat. You are to count 50 days, and then present a new grain offering to Adonai. You are to bring out of your houses 2 loaves of bread for a wave offering, made of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour. They are to be baked with chametz as first fruits to Adonai. You are to present, along with the bread, 7 one-year-old lambs without blemish, 1 young bull, and 2 rams. They will become a burnt offering to Adonai, with their meal offering and their drink offering, an offering made by fire, a sweet aroma to Adonai. Also you are to offer 1 male goat for a sin offering, and a pair of year-old male lambs for a sacrifice of fellowship offerings. The Cohen is to wave them with the bread of the firstfruit as a wave offering before Adonai. With the 2 lambs, they shall be holy to Adonai for the Cohen. You are to make a proclamation on the same day that there is to be a holy convocation, and you should do no regular work. This is a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. Now when you reap the harvest of your land, you are not to reap to the furthest corners of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Rather, you are to leave them for the poor and for the outsider. I am Adonai your God. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Bnei Israel, saying, In the 7 months, on the first day of the month, you are to have a Shabbat rest, a memorial of blowing shofarot, a holy convocation. You are to do no regular work, and you are to present an offering made by fire to Adonai. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, However, the 10th day of this 7 months is Yom Kippur, a holy convocation to you. So you are to afflict yourselves. You are to bring an offering made by fire to Adonai. You are not to do any kind of work on that set day, for it is Yom Kippur, to make atonement for you before Adonai your God. For anyone who does not deny himself on that day must be cut off from his people. Anyone who does any kind of work on that day, that person I will destroy from among his people. You should do no kind of work. It is a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwelling. It is to be a Shabbat of solemn rest for you, and you are to humble your souls. On the 9th day of the month in the evening, from evening until evening, you are to keep your Shabbat. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Bnei Israel, and say, On the 15th day of this 7th month is the feast of Sukkot, for 7 days to Adonai. On the first day there is to be a holy convocation. You are to do no laborious work. For 7 days you are to bring an offering by fire to Adonai. The 8th day will be a holy convocation to you, and you are to bring an offering by fire to Adonai. It is a solemn assembly. You should do no laborious work. These are the Moadim of Adonai, which you are to proclaim to be holy convocations, to present an offering by fire to Adonai, a burnt offering, a grain offering, a sacrifice, and a drink offerings, each on its own day, besides those of the Shabbatot of Adonai, and besides your gifts, all your vows and all your freewill offerings, which you give to Adonai. So on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruits of the land, you are to keep the feast of Adonai for 7 days. The first day is to be a Shabbat rest, and the 8th day will also be a Shabbat rest. On the first day you are to take choice fruit of trees, branches of palm trees, boughs of leafy trees, and willows of the brook, and rejoice before Adonai your God for 7 days. You are to celebrate it as a festival to Adonai for 7 days in the year. It is a statute forever throughout your generations. You are to celebrate it in the 7th month. You are to live in Sukkot for 7 days. All the native born in Israel are to live in Sukkot, so that your generations may know that I had Bnei Israel to dwell in Sukkot when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Adonai your God. So Moses declared to Bnei Israel the Moadim of Adonai. Amen.